friends, welcome to another exciting video. In this video, I'll tell you about Agentic RAG and have a small demo also that I have prepared by using LangFlow and Milvas. The LangFlow is the applications through which you can create LLM applications, and Milvas is the vector database where you can keep your vector data. So before I take you to agentic RAG, let me tell you what is a traditional RAG systems. So why the AI engineers are created these RAG architectures, right? The problem was like the LLMs are not trained with your business data. Since whatever you can ask, they can give a answer, but they may not read to your business data to create an answer. So to address this, this RAG architecture is created. RAG stands for Retrieval-Augmented Generation. So they like created a vector database, and all the business data are converted into different chunks and vectors, and they stored in the vector database. When the user asks a questions, that goes to a retrieval component where the retrieval component fetches the similar chunks or similar data which are stored in the vector database. Then those similar chunks are again put in a context and sent to the LLM model to read and create an answer. So on a high level, this is the RAG architecture. But here, if you see, the LLM's role is to only get the chunks and find the answer from that chunks. Only that, right? Later, the AI engineers are realized they are underutilizing these LLM models. Because here, if you see, the LLM model's responsibility is only to take the chunks and read the context and create an answer from that context only. So the LLM can be utilized to think, to evaluate users' response, right? And much more to do with the user inputs, right? So for this, they have created a architecture called Agentic RAG. In Agentic RAG, if you see, they replaced this LLM with AI agent because the AI agents internally use LLMs as a brain. So with the help of this LLM, they can think like which tool they can use to answer or to perform the particular task which is asked by the users. Then they can evaluate also, right? And they can create a response, whatever the tool needs response. So if you see in these architectures, the AI agents are connected to vector databases to retrieve the similar or the matched context based on the user input. Then they can connect to API to you know submit certain data or to perform some actions, right? They can connect to Wikipedia source tool to get an answer from Wikipedia. So likely they can be connected with more than 100 of tool, right? If you see, these AI agents can accept the user input, and since they have a LLM, they can analyze the user's input. They understand the intent of that user of that input. Then accordingly, they are connected with multiple tools through which they can evaluate which tools is best to perform an action or generate a reply for this input. Then they execute that tool, and once they get a response, they interpret with the tool response. Then they create a best answer or final answer for the end users, right? So earlier, if you see, the LLM's role was only to read the context and give a answer. So now they can do multiple things, 5 different things they can do, right? Also, these AI agents are follow a loop called React loop. React stands for reasoning and acting. Basically, once they receive the input, so it goes to a thought layer where they think like what to do with these inputs, right? Rather than directly getting answers, AI engineers added a thought layer. Then, according to the result of the thought, the agent perform an actions. It connect to the best tools, then it perform actions. And once the response received from that tool, so they evaluate it and create an answer. And if they found, this answer is not best for this input, again they send it to the thought layer to analyze, and again they connect to the action layer to perform a new action This is how they follow the React loop. There is a configuration where you can keep your agent need to be follow this loop how many times, right? Now with this agentic RAG become more powerful. The hallucinate result you got from a RAG systems is reduced when you follow a agentic RAG architectures, right? Now let us see how we can create a agentic RAG workflow by using LangFlow. So I will create this demo by using LangFlow. Here you can install LangFlow on your local machines. So I have installed by using Docker. If you need a video on how to install LangFlow on your machine or on your server, please write me in comments. So I'll prepare a video on that. So I have used the LangFlow 1.6.7 versions, which is latest so far. I will be connect to a knowledge base to retrieve certain information. So if you see, so here I have downloaded the data of government schemes, and I have pushed all this data to my vector database, which is Milvas. So this is my Milvas collections where I have kept the data in different chunks, and vector of all chunks has been created and stored here. My agentic RAG will fetch the right chunks and create an answer. Also, I need to connect the API to get the application status. So my agent will have two roles. One is based on the user's input, it will identify whether I need to connect to a knowledge base to get the scheme information, or I need to connect to a particular API to get a application status, right? So this is what we will create. Now let us create a new flow. So I'm creating a blank flow. So here my agentic RAG demo. I have agentic RAG demo. So I save this. Then first I need an agent. So this is my agent. So here I've used OpenAPI key, which I stored in the variable global variable. Then now in the agent instructions, I've entered this. You are an agent that must always rely on external tools to answer queries. Do not use your internal modern knowledge at any time. Tool usage rules I have mentioned, always determine which tools is most suitable for the user's query. For application status queries, use the application status retrieval tool. For scheme and service related queries, use the schemes and services knowledge base tool. If tool returns no result or lacks of context, do not create or assume information. Respond exactly with I do not have the information for this query. So this is a kind of instruction I have given to my agent. So now I need to connect to a input component, chart input, and also there is a chart output component. This is now my agent is configured. Now I need to connect to multiple tools. So first I'll connect to a retrieval tool. So I'm connecting to Milvas. That's why I'm keeping to Milvas tools. Now there is a option called tool mode, which basically convert this component as a tool. So let me I have enabled that. Then I connect to my tool. Then if you see here, I need to mention my collection name. So in vector database, I've kept my collection name as government underscore scheme. I put that. Then the URI, since I'm running it in Docker, so my host name is host.docker.internal. So Milvus token is optional for me, so I will not use that. Uh, Primary field name is ID here. if you see my primary key is id here, then text field name text, and my vector field name is vector also. Now this mailbox component is need an embedding also, because when the users asks any query or asks any input, that need to be embedded first in order to retrieve data from the mailbox. So I need a embedded component. Here also I'm using OpenAI global variable key. So with this, now my agent is ready to retrieve data from the vector database. So let me ask a query, test it. I'm writing, is there any scheme for sugarcane farming? Let me see whether it is able to answer or not. Yes. So it successfully gave us an answer. So if I see the log, so you can see here these are the chunks it retrieved from the vector database, and it get the answer like yes, there is a scheme related to sugar farming. So it follow the content from here and create an answer, right? Now let us connect this agentic RAG with another tool, which will basically call the API to get the application detail. Now to do this, let me use a component called API request. I need to convert this component to tool. So now I'll connect this component with agent. So here, if you see, to make API request, what I need to do, I need to give the API URL. This is the API URL I have kept. So this is my mock URL which I have created in Postman's mock server. Close. Then what I'll do in the action panel, I need to write a slog name and description so that my agent can read this information. So I'll connect to this tool. So in the slog, I'll write get application status, and then on description I'll write some description about this particular component, like this component fetch application status through API. This is the API endpoint, right? So I put some descriptions so that my agent will follow these informations while using this tool. Okay. So now I think my agentic RAG workflow is created. So let us test this. So I'll write my what is the status of my application ID 101, something like that. So now let us check whether my agent is able to connect to that tool or not. Yes. So it's showing the status of your application with ID 101 is approved. So if I see the log, then it successfully identify the tool name, which is get application status, and create the URL. And also since I have mentioned 101 application ID. So it successfully identified the entity and put it in the query string of the API. So it execute this API and it receive this information from the API and it get answers, which is cool. Now this is how we have successfully created a agentic RAG workflow. So I think you have enjoyed it. So if you have any query or any uh, input on this agentic RAG, please write me on comment. Thank you for watching. See you in another video.